I'm Dr. Kathleen Walls of Dr. Walls and Friends.
I'm Edward Mojo Herman from the PIF Connection, and you're watching
Dr. Walls and Friends
on UCCN
TV.
Purpose is my passion's name. Can I get through this? Can I find my way? Though the road is long and the mountain high, I will journey on, live my greatest life, yeah.
Hey everybody, it's your host, Dr. Kathleen Walls of Dr. Walls and Friends, and I am here today with a very special guest, and I know you usually hear me say that, but this one is super special. I've known him his whole life.
True. Very true.
So my guest today is Dr. Brian Walls.
Hi.
And Brian and I, some of you know and some don't know, are the co-owners of Green Street Animal Care, which was formerly known as Green Street Animal Clinic, which was the veterinary hospital that our father had for about 41 years before he made his transition in September of 2017. And Brian and I decided to continue that legacy. And so, Brian, why don't you tell the audience,
Sure.
why we chose to continue that legacy, and a little bit about Daddy, who he was as a person, and
Sure.
obviously who he was as a veterinarian.
Sure. So when, actually months beforehand, we had discussed about keeping it going, the importance of keeping this going. This has been, believe it or not, those who may not know, it's been a stalwart here in Germantown and here on this corner that really historically, being the second black veterinarian in the state of Pennsylvania, being one of the very first and few really on the 95 corridor, we decided that we were going to keep this going. So after Dad transitioned, we closed it down for a month, cleaned it up, got everything together, and I transitioned it from Green Street Animal Clinic to Green Street Animal Care to keep his legacy alive, and also to just show that things evolve, but yet they evolve but stay the same.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened, is that the care has stayed the same. The love that we have for all furry creatures that come through that door, it's the exact same as always. I think those who follow us on Facebook see it. See the videos, and it's really been a blessing.
Yeah.
It's fun to come through and to know that Dad is still here, but also we're here. We're still using it. We're still developing. It's still evolving.
It definitely is still evolving. And that's one thing, growing up, obviously, with a father as a veterinarian, we were around animals all the time. And people used to think it was amazing that we didn't have any animals. They still do. They're like, oh, we know you grew up with a lot of animals. It's like, yeah, other people's animals, but we didn't have any at home, mainly because our older brother was allergic to cat and dog hair. So for his health benefits, it was better that we didn't. But you had things like frogs and turtles and fish and things like, I wanted a horse.
Yeah, exactly.
But that has not happened just yet. But yeah, so when our father got sick, and unfortunately we knew what the imminent reality of his life situation was, that we talked about it. And we weren't sure what we were going to do. And so, but it was an option that was put on the table.
There you go.
And then when he made his transition, it was really quite amazing, because then I started having thoughts that I never had before, and started Googling things like dog grooming.
Right.
Like, that was something I never considered doing. And that's what most people say. It's like, you have your doctorate in psychology, why are you looking at dog grooming? But from a business standpoint, it was, what can we do to continue?
Exactly. And it's interesting you said that, because from a business standpoint, I have my doctorate in physical therapy, and I looked more into financials and marketing, and understanding exactly what even market research is. And that has, obviously, when we meet and we plan, and it's made a difference. And it's funny how these things happen, and they happen. We all evolve, and I think it's important that we understand that by staying static, nothing ever improves. And by constantly being open to the evolution of self, of business, of life.
Y'all see why he's my brother, right? That's right. The constant evolution of self and life. Where is that tambourine? Yes.
There you
It's
go.
in the car.
Well, and you know, and those that may not know, but my sisters know me obviously all my life. She knows for me to even say that, I
Yes.
am not one who, I am very much stuck in my ways. There are some things I've done for the past 30 years of my life that I do every morning, but there's some grounding in that, but also understanding that there is always growth.
It always will.
And that's exactly what's happened here is
Yeah.
that I even go back to when Dad was alive. He always said this building is for the families, for the community,
Yeah.
and that this building has truly become just that.
it has.
You know, we each have we have the main business. We each do so much out of it. We do a lot of community service here.
Yes.
And so it's fascinating how much it's become that cornerstone.
Yeah.
And people look for this.
Yeah.
They're always surprised that we're still open and we're still
yes,
going.
yes.
And what's great is that we have so many new people
Yeah.
that have discovered us.
Yes.
Which is wonderful
Yeah.
because that's everything. And even the people that have always been here are back.
Yeah.
And that's it's beautiful.
Really good. Yeah,
It's
it really
beautiful.
it really is, and it's a wonderful tribute. You know, we talk about continuing the legacy of animal care in itself, but also continuing the legacy of the values that were
Right.
poured into us.
Right.
You know, from our father, of course, from my mother as well, and so the importance of community. And it's also interesting in the schools that we chose to go to, how community service was so important. You know, within the school setting, it taught us about community. And so we're living those mission and vision statements of the schools that we went to, as well as the mission and vision of our parents.
Very true. Very true. Well
Yeah.
said. Right? And it's throughout everything that's done is throughout
Yeah.
throughout the business, but throughout our lives.
Yeah.
And it's important that that we all find that. We all find whatever that why happens to be, and
Yeah.
we keep pushing towards that
Yeah.
in each and everything that we do.
And I think the other thing, as you mentioned, is where am I now? Right? Where do I go and where do I grow from here? Because it is okay to stay in one particular lane, but then to evolve, right? And what does that evolvement look like, even if it's in that one lane? So I think about with Daddy. When he first started, he was working around the clock. I mean, it seemed like 24 hours, 7 days a week, because he was always on call, and he'd be doing house calls, and there were times where he'd wake us up in the middle of the night. We'd be in the car, headed somewhere. We'd go to farms. Like, we would be all over with him, whether it was cows or horses, mountain lions,
Right.
dogs, cats. I remember one time a coworker told me that his snake's eyes didn't look okay, and Daddy came back to the office to make sure that he would see this snake, and he's like, "You're absolutely right. I can tell his eyes aren't well. He's not well." You know, we're like, "Really, Daddy?" You know, and then all the way down to the hamsters and the guinea pigs of school that school kids had. So we were always around all of these various animals, him delivering horses in the parking lot. And then one day him saying, "I think it's time for me just to work on small animals." And it was like, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that was one thing. He always kept us in the loop, and we would have family conversations about the evolving nature of his business and where he was physically, you know, as what energetically what he was able to do. And I remember us sitting down and talking about his hours. How many days a week do you want to work? How many hours do you want to work? I remember going through his client list and sign-in sheet to see how many clients per day was he averaging. And so we started, growing up, I didn't realize, working on price sheets with Crayola markers at like the age of 8, you know, file system, putting that in order and assisting with that. So we were being groomed to be a part of the business, even though we had our own individual life paths of physical therapy and psychology, you know. So then when it unfolded and it was now, what are you going to do? We sat down and we talked about what role do you want to take, what role do you want to take. You know, we checked in with other people. Are you interested in being a part of this as well? And for those who said yes, then we continue to move forward.
Exactly. That's well said. And it's been wonderful to see
Yes.
how everything has continued to grow
Yes.
and continue to move forward.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in some areas that we were maybe a little nervous about,
Yes.
how that's actually turned out.
It turned out to be great. Exactly.
Much better.
And have done things like trust me, I never, ever, ever thought or considered being a certified dog groomer.
No.
I never thought about picking up a pair of clippers.
Yeah.
And I remember, but it came so quickly.
Right.
I mean, within weeks after Daddy transitioned, I was in dog grooming school. I didn't even know there was a grooming conference that took place. Literally within 6 days.
Right.
6 days after he transitioned, I was at a conference in Hershey, Pennsylvania about dog grooming and starting a business. So also the divine steps
Right.
that
Very
have
true.
been put into place. Dr. Wade.
Oh
Let's
gosh,
talk about
Dr.
her.
Wade. I mean, she has been a blessing in many ways.
Completely.
And
Yes.
and really just to talk about spirit, talk about just energy.
Yes,
This is somebody who has a lot of similarities to Dad.
a lot.
And
Both went to Tuskegee.
yes, yes.
Right?
And most importantly, has the temperament. And has a temperament not only of us, but has temperament of him and the
Yes,
community.
Very much so.
And the community, and really, there are those clients that have been with us since day one,
Yes.
40 plus years ago,
Literally.
and have told us in many
Yes.
different ways, this is the right person.
Exactly.
And she has been the right person in more ways than one.
Oh my goodness.
So she, just once again, when you're open to the
Yes.
possibilities, it's amazing who comes in
Yes.
to your life, who comes into your world
Yeah.
that will teach you, but also will help excel.
Yes,
And so she's a great example.
exactly.
Great example.
Let's take a quick commercial break.
Sure.
And we'll come back in a moment.